This video is sponsored by scdkey.com. scdkey.com is a marketplace website where you can purchase game keys and software keys with no hassle. scdkey.com offers a legit Windows 10 Pro key for only $17. This is the same keys I use on my PC builds. But to make it more awesome, they will be giving another 12% discount. Just type our coupon code XTNC to get it for only $15. You now have your legit Windows 10 key license all set, but in a more affordable price. If you're in the Philippines, purchasing is very easy. You can use PayPal, PayMaya, or GCash. Visit scdkey.com now. I'll put the link in the video description below. So thank you scdkey.com for sponsoring this video. Hey guys, Action here. Welcome back to another video. Although I'm a bit late for this video, still, I promise to upload my further impressions and benchmark tests with the ASUS TUF GeForce RTX 3080 Overclocking Edition with 10GB of VRAM. First is the card impressions. So since I had an unboxing of the card before, we'll talk about some of the features instead. Sporting the TUF brand, of course, alam naman nating matibay ito na lineup ni ASUS. Meron itong all-aluminum shroud na kung saan nakapalob ang 3 axial fans niya, which is usually found on ROG Strix cards. And I really appreciate the gesture here of putting the technology dito sa TUF cards, meaning hindi tinipid. Speaking of the fans, meron itong dual ball fan bearings, which is apparently mas matibay compared to the usual sleeve and other bearing types. And kung mapapansin nyo din, yung center fan is iba yung rotation compared to the other two fans, which reduces turbulence. Also, meron din itong fan stop mode, which means if the card is below 55 degrees Celsius, totally titigil ang fans for silent experience. Let's say when idle or wala ka namang masyadong ginagawa na GPU intensive. On the heatsink, it is also enlarged and optimized efficiently by enhancing yung tinatawag na surface smoothness ng heat spreader for better contact with the GPU die. And meron ding heatsinks yung mga VRMs para hindi nag-overheat. And as you can see at the back, may butas yung backplate perhaps for the fan's exhaust. Design-wise, ang ganda nung all-metal shroud and backplate nito. Meron parang tire marks pero actually TUF logo din. Of course, may RGB pero very minimal lang at the TUF logo sa gilid. There's also a switch to enable the performance BIOS mode and quiet mode. Finally, meron itong dalawang PCIe 8-pin power inputs at tatlong DisplayPort 1.4a and dalawang HDMI 2.1 inputs. For a test system, we have here an Intel Core i9 10900K on stock clock speed, T-Force Nighthawk RGB 36MHz, 32GB na DDR4 RAM, of course the star of this video, the ASUS TUF GeForce RTX 3080 AUSI 10GB. Again, ito po yung overclocking edition. Our boot drive was the Team Group EX2, 512GB SSD, and yung game library natin is stored on a 1TB Seagate Firecuda SSHD. All tests are conducted on an air-conditioned environment with an ambient temperature of 28 degrees Celsius and on an open bench, again on all stock clock speeds. Benchmark data was captured either by the game's built-in benchmarks or Afterburner and HW info for temperature. Now for the benchmarks, we're testing the games in 3 major resolutions: 4K, 1440p, and 1080p. These tests are also run with the RTX features turned off so that we can see the full potential of the card instead. First is the Formula 1 2020. On 4K Ultra settings, we had an average of 202 FPS, which is more than enough for a racing game with high load on both CPU and GPU. In short, panalo agad. 1440p gave us an average of 280 FPS, and 1080p, di nagkakalayo, we had an average of around 296 FPS. Next is yung Shadow of the Tomb Raider. 4K Ultra gave us an average of 92 FPS, which is not bad considering how intense itong game sa GPU. Down to 1440p, we are averaging at 161 FPS, and 1080p at around 226 FPS. On Far Cry New Dawn, at 4K Ultra, we had an average of 99 FPS, expected as same case with Shadow of the Tomb Raider since medyo intense itong game na ito when it comes to GPU load. On 1440p naman, we have an average of 124 FPS, and scaling down to 1080p naman give us around 125 FPS average. Parang walang pinagbago sa tingin ko against 1440p. Call of Duty Modern Warfare in 4K high settings give us a 95 FPS average, while in 1440p we have an average of 151 FPS. On 1080p naman, we got an average of 185 FPS. To add more fun, I also tested some other titles such as GTA 5, where in 4K settings, we got an average of 112 FPS, which speaks na kahit from 2013 na laro ay kaya pa ring magbigay ng heavy strain on the GPU. Down to 1440p, GTA 5 give us an average of 172 FPS. Same case then with 1080p na parang walang pinagbago with an average of 174 FPS. Finally, we have CSGO. On 4K high settings, we got an average of 323 FPS. 1440p give us an average of 464 FPS. And 1080p give us an average of 573 FPS. 3D Mark x Spy Extreme give us a score of 8,931 on the GPU test, while V-Ray GPU Benchmarks gave us a score of 627, again on the GPU test lang. Next is temperature performance. In fairness, hindi masyadong mainit yung card kahit anong iba to kong load dito. So kudos ASUS on your cooling design here. As you can see on our benchmark runs, we have a decent temperature readings averaging from 40 to the 60 degrees Celsius lang. And even though at full load, halos di mo rinig yung fans nito. To the point na hindi mo kailangan pa yung quiet mode switch sa likod ng card. Nice one, ASUS. In terms of system power draw, we have our whole test system drawing wall power of around 460 watts and 550 watts sa games, while around 420 to 540 watts sa GPU workloads. May time na mababa kapag hindi nagagamit yung CPU and just the GPU only, and mataas if both were utilized at the same time. As you can see, medyo high ang power requirements, that's why Nvidia is recommending a 750 watt minimum for the RTX 3080 and 3090 cards. For available headroom in case na mag-overclock ka ng CPU or GPU. And yung boosting ng clock speeds nila or kung mag-a-add ka pa ng additional components in the future. For the cards pricing, the ASUS TUF GeForce RTX 3080 Aussie Edition 10G is priced at around 49,490 pesos, while yung non-OC edition naman is priced around 41,000 pesos SRP. So that's it. Sa tingin ko, if you're looking for a good gaming card, best pick itong RTX 30 na ito, and maybe itong ASUS TUF RTX 3080 is one of the best cards out there right now in terms of features and performance. Price-wise as well. It can do 4K gaming very well. Di ka bibiguin ito even with the RTX features on. And para sa akin lang, panalo to kung hanap mo ay decent na RTX 3080. So there you have it. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been Xtian. So like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you on my next video.